With the hashtag #EndBadGovernance in Nigeria, the 10-day protest to draw government's attention to all pervasive financial difficulty in the country commenced on Thursday last week. Now, despite the impediments thrown their way, the protesters have succeeded in making a strong statement that by voluntarily entrusting to elected officials the responsibility of governing their affairs, the people have not relinquished power, such that power can be invoked by staging public protest over any issue in which they may feel dissatisfied. Initially, the protests were largely peaceful. However, zeroing in on northern Nigeria, things have gone quite awry in some parts of that region. Now, looting, destruction have greeted the demonstrations as a swath of youths have trooped to the streets, engaging viciously in the protest. On Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue, we seek to whether or not to align with the sentiments by many critical stakeholders that the protests should be suspended, given what has actually transpired in some states, particularly the north. Now, this is an urgent need to de-escalate the growing tension within the country. Join us in the next phase of the show, but before you do that, you will subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across various social media platforms. You're welcome back to the show. We could see from the video earlier on demonstrations from the protesters and lethal crackdown from security operatives and men of the Nigerian police force exhibiting a show of force and viciousness to actually stall the End-Bad Governance protesters in the north. I've got a guest on the show from the field of political science, Toby Olusegun, and she'll be giving us her insight on the issue at hand. Toby, you're welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're quite conversant on the recent happenings or the 7-day End Bad Governance protest. Could you give us, in your own view, in your own opinion, what it's been like on the part of the protesters and also the northern region here where there have been protests which have actually escalated from peaceful protests to violent protests? Briefly.
Okay, thank you so much. So for me, so far, the protest has been peaceful in some part of Nigeria, and we've seen in some of our southwest states that the protest has been peaceful. But the one in the northern region, from the videos and all of the intels we've been able to gather, it's the opposite of what the real protest is intended to be like. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Okay.
So the protest is meant to be peaceful, but it's what we're having in the north is opposite to peace with violence.
Okay, in your own words, in the northern region now in particular, now, how will you describe the protests buttressing the violent scenes which we've been seeing, particularly in Kano State and Kaduna State?
Okay, I would say the protest has been hijacked.
Okay.
It has been hijacked, yes.
Okay, hijacked. Will it say it's being sponsored or there's a motive or there's actually an intent behind the hijacking?
Yes, so I would say it has been hijacked and infiltrated by external forces.
Okay. Why?
Yes. So with the recent video seen in Kano where protesters are raising flagging of Russian flags,
Mm-hmm.
so I would say external forces are behind it because these people, from the videos I've seen, people in those individuals are very young people, young boys that are meant to be in school. Because particularly they don't understand what they are doing exactly. They are just told to okay, do this, do that, and that is what they are doing.
Okay, there was a 10-point demand, actually. Does it mean that these excesses are from the northern youths? Because this End Bad Governance is actually a youth-led protest. Will you agree that on the part of the youths in the northern part of Nigeria, it borders on illiteracy? Why? Because they seem not to key in on the major essence of these protests. Because we could see, like I was watching on Twitter, which is now x.com, the protesters, youths, the northern youths, were actually driving an armored tank owned by the Nigerian police force. We will say that is actually a callous act on its own part of the Nigerian youths within the northern parts.
Yes, for me, I would say yes because when this protest started, we all agreed to it to be a peaceful one. There will be no violence, and we don't want what happened at NSAS to happen again. So everybody agreed to it to be a protest, to be a peaceful protest. Sorry, and what is happening in the north is really wrong. I totally condemn what is happening. It is not meant to be, and I feel like they lack the intelligence of what this protest is about or the knowledge of what this protest is about and what we're actually fighting for. And that is why I said they were sponsored because they don't have the knowledge or the reasonable knowledge behind 10 demands from the beginning.
Okay, so if I'm getting you right, it therefore means that this knowledge, which ought to be have been appreciated, or their limited intelligence now, is being exploited, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Now, recently, some NSAS, rather, I beg your pardon, not NSAS here, the End Bad Governance protests in northern Nigeria within the country were spotted waving Russian flags. You mentioned Russian flags earlier on. Now, the Russian flags, as the demonstration entered day 5, now, this has sparked up a wave of comments from several quarters, including the CDS, the Chief of Defense Staff, who actually described the move as unacceptable. Now, further cautioning that those flying the Russian flag, calling it a treasonable offense. Isn't this an insult to the sovereignty of Nigeria as a country? Because we look at it, for one to actually mount a flag, it therefore means that that particular country or entity is domiciled within that territory. Isn't this an insult in the existence of Nigerian sovereignty by flying a Russian flag within a republic as Nigeria?
Okay, it's an insult actually, and it's a wake up call to the Nigerian government. So, a little backstory. There has been Nigerian military intervention in what we know as our Sahel regions,
Okay.
where Nigerian military has been intervening in their government. And from intel or from gathering or information gathering, we've seen that Russia um, has been involved in those regions. So seeing them flagging off Russian flag in Nigeria, it's like you said, it's a treason offense, and the Nigerian government should just take this as a wake up call to is it to what's the word, to treat this as urgent
Okay, okay, let me get you
and fight against
let
it.
me get you straight there. It therefore means that what it bothers now is that the internal crisis now, which is the end bad governance now, has a potential threat or is a potential threat to uh, upturning national security. Hence, the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, now coming on board now to address it as a treasonable offense. Now, it borders on of setting the territorial integrity of the nation. No doubt Nigeria has been involved in one of the Sahel nations, which is Niger Republic, which has actually bought into the assistance of the Russian forces, thereby evicting the American forces who had been there for quite some time. Will you agree that oftentimes economic factors are actually responsible for this protest?
Okay, yes, because if you look at our 10 demands, one of the major demands is to cut down prices in food, and the high rate of inflation should be brought down and all of that. So it is one of the um, major major causes or major cause of this protest that everyone is fighting for.
Okay. On
Did I
another,
answer your question?
oh yeah, that does. On another note, could it be that those spotted waving the Russian flags or distributing the Russian flags during the demonstrations were actually sponsored, not just being sponsored, it was sponsored by those who actually intend to achieve selfish intent?
Yes, so they were actually sponsored to just divert the attention of the government from the real thing to whatever they are doing. And it's actually a threat to the Nigerian government. And I think they're just trying to threaten the Nigerian government to withhold um, perhaps the intervention in whatever they are doing outside the country.
Okay, do you see His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as somebody who can be pushed over or who lacks that punch to punch back? Because actually, this is a threat on his own house. Let me put it that way.
Yes, it is. Um, so he has the veto power if he wants to go ahead with um stopping this and responding, not like responding in violence, not responding in violent way, but then he has the power to address this and let it end immediately instead of just leaving it to continue. And I think that is why the DSS has come out to condemn the act and to punish those involved in it.
Okay, now you mentioned the DSS now on its own part because the DSS is the Department of State Security Services. Now it says has apprehended some tailors who have actually been suspected to be mass producing and distributing the Russian flag in Kano states. Does it mean that patriotism here now is gradually failing?
Hmm, that's a big question. So the people sewing are not the real issues there now. They're not the direct problems. So the sponsors or the external forces are just trying to leverage on this protest against Nigeria. So they can fish out those behind these intentions because like you said they've arrested some people and those people can lead them to the right source of the problem. Okay, and as regards the patriotism, I would say that these people are really what's the word, they're not in the right frame of mind to kind of make the right decisions as regard patriotism because they have it's the same issue we are facing in the southwest. They're also facing in the north, if not more than. So their stance is not. I won't say it's with Nigeria fully. I
Uh,
won't say it's with just.
Okay, for the sake of intelligence gathering now, the DSS now, don't you feel they should actually do more? Because it might not necessarily be, because the Russian flags were actually hoisted in Niger Republic to actually oust the democratic system of government, which was actually in place initially, bringing in the military junta. Now, the current Russian flag being flown now or hoisted now in some parts of Kano and Kaduna states. Don't you feel there might be some viral infection now in other northern states, which might gradually begin to come down middle belt?
Okay, I think that is why I said earlier that the government should caution this right now before it begins to spread to other states. So they should those that have been arrested should be punished for it so
Uh,
that others will learn from it.
Okay. No, moving on now with one of the border sharing Sahel nations, Niger, is which the one which we've been basing on because they are more pronounced. Why? Because they are in the northern hemisphere concerning the border regions. Niger now is having a heavy Russian presence as of now. Do you see northern Nigeria already being influenced already with the recent waving of the Russian flags, particularly from the Niger? Or do we see another region agitating for secession, riding on the back of the end bad governance protest? When I mean secession, I mean trying to break away from an already existing country.
Okay, so I don't think it's particularly a threat for secession. Like I said earlier, there are external forces behind this flagging of Russian flag, and I think they're just trying to make Nigeria pull their forces back from interfering in Niger and other Sahel regions. I don't know if that answered your question.
Okay. On a final note, conclusively now, do you see Nigeria now with the whole NBAD governance theme, which is plaguing the whole 36 states? Do you see Nigeria turning into any military junta anytime soon because of some perceived coup, which Christopher Musa, Chief of Defense Staff, has actually doused the tension of Nigerians? Military junta emerging anytime soon because of the whole quagmire going on.
I don't see military intervention in view if the government should take up take this up and act with it with immediate effect. And then military government is not the best option for us, even although we know that what we practice in Nigeria as democracy is not democracy in the real sense, but this does not give us the avenue to now, or this does not give us the hopes of saying, oh, military government is the best option now, because military government, it's not, it's from history, a military government is not the best. We still have our freedom now, but military government taking over, it's going to be something else entirely. It's like taking Nigeria backwards. So we should just try to embrace this, and government should be open to accountability from the people if they want this democracy to continue. Because now that we're having series of agitations and all of that, anything can happen. You can just wake up one morning and see that, oh, this is happening in this region of the country and all of that. So my own take is, or should I say recommendation, is that the government should be open to accountability and be open to hear from the citizens, because democracy is a government for the people. And if you're not listening to us and taking actions, that means you are not for us. And that is what we bring about people agitating for a military government and all of that.
Okay, thank you very much, Oluwasegun Tobiloba. It has been nice having you on the show. I think that explains part of the peaceful protest, which is still lingering for the time being. Thank you very much. Well, that was Toby Loba giving her own insight concerning the happenings in the protest, the End Bad Governance protest. We've made, or she has made us understand that the worst civilian regime is better than the best military rule. Well, peaceful strikes, lockouts, and their non-violent positive actions are well-known legitimate weapons of expression in a democratic setting to air our views. Peradventure, there are any grievances. But given the precarious security situation in the country today and the need to avert what could easily degenerate into anarchy, we join the call that the protests be actually suspended. Why? Because of some videos which we have seen, but the soul of the 12-year-old child in the northern part of Nigeria, rest in peace, as a stray bullet knocked down the poor child. The show has been Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. You'll do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across various social media platforms. Thanks for watching.